All right. Hello, hello. This is going to be for the sign of Taurus. It can apply to Sun, Moon, rising Venus, Mars, or if you have stellium placements, prominent placements, transits, or if it just feels like a message that aligns with you. Sign specific does not always have to be the case. What we are going to do though is, considering this is for March of 2023, I'm going to be pulling a couple of astrology cards, and then I will be pulling or using tarot cards to do the main overall message, and then I will pull clarifiers. So let's see. It's really funny because I feel like since we're coming upon the north and south nodes kind of switching off and starting a whole new eclipse season that is leaving your sign, I feel like there is this way that you have like adapted your energy, especially considering that the north node was hitting, excuse me, your sun. And I almost feel like you've learned to kind of harness or balance both active and passive energy. We'll say that. You've got yen showing up as the first card. You've got fire. And you also have mutable. So I feel like you've learned how to kind of roll with the punches, so to speak. I actually feel like this is probably the most receptive that you've been in a while, or at the very least, that March is going to hold that energy for you. Where I feel like you're really going to lean into receptivity and kind of allow what is coming to you, and maybe what even might be showered upon you, to provide you with a certain level of optimism about your future. With that being said, let's get into it. As I said, what's coming to you? Six of Pentacles, Two of Cups. We've got the Hermit card. And we've got the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. Work smarter, not harder. Empress on the bottom of the deck. It's definitely what I think you're going for. And considering that the Empress is ruled by the sign of Venus, which does dominate your sign as well as Libra, I really do feel like this yen energy or this receptive energy is going to be very good for you this month. I definitely feel like you are going to be given particular gifts. It doesn't necessarily have to be physical, tangible things. But I do think you're going to be receiving a lot of support or a lot of loving words this month. I think you're going to be having very supportive connections being around you. And I think you're going to be in observance of that. Like, I feel like this time period for you is really going to teach you something. And I think one of the most important things it's going to teach you, as well as what this year and a half has taught you with these eclipses, is that you don't always have to do the same thing over and over and over again. I also feel like it's almost like sometimes when you focus so much on end game stuff, I think you miss the magic as to what like happens in between. Because I also feel like that's why this yen energy is here, where it's almost like allow yourself to have the experience and allow yourself to pick things up along the way as that experience is happening. Don't be so fixated on what you're wanting out of it that you miss everything else that you actually get in the process. So that is definitely what's going to be happening for you this month. And I think it's going to be a very beautiful month because of that. Now let's pull clarifiers on these cards. Let's see what's going on with the Six of Pentacles. Two of Cups. You've really been reflecting on your relationships. And that doesn't just have to be romantic. I mean, that can be friendships, business partners, family. Yeah, this is deep. Okay. Five of Cups at the bottom of the deck. I feel like there's so much about you that's changed through this process. I mean, no shit, right? Like that's what eclipses will do, especially when they're hitting your sun sign. But I truly do. I feel like a lot has changed, and I feel like you've gone through this process of unearthing and releasing a lot, especially with the South Node in Scorpio, right? In opposition to your North Node. You've really been tackling letting go of old stuff, haven't we all? I feel like the South Node in Scorpio has done that for all of us in a different way. But I feel like with the Seven of Wands and the Page of Swords underneath the Six of Pentacles, I don't want you to block out what's coming to you because I feel like there's going to be a part of you that wants to do that. And I think it's still because you're trying to get this whole like work-life balance thing under control, or this whole control thing under control. Two of Cups has the Hermit and the Knight of Cups. I think it's really, really, really important for you to not only allow love in, but to allow yourself to love yourself so that you can love others more appropriately. This reflection thing that seems to be happening that you've been going through, because we have the Hermit here twice, this reflection period that you've been going through, not only about your relationships and your connections, but how you show up in them and how they show up for you. I feel like that's been a very important journey for you in this process. And I feel like as a result of that, you've kind of been undergoing this new journey where you're not quite certain what this like evolutionary process looks like for you, especially not as it's happening. I don't think you're seeing anything as it's happening. But I feel like this month you're going to see this culmination where once again, you don't always have to do so much. Sometimes you can let people take care of you. Ace of Cups in reverse with the Emperor. And I think that really it's like the question of what are you building your empire off of? What were you working so hard for? What were you slaving away for? Was it to provide? Was it because there was an end goal? Was it because you wanted to feel like you were in charge? Was it because you wanted to feel like you had it all together? You don't have to do that. I mean, like, if it feels good for you, cool, like, do that, but you don't have to. Because I think you're starting to see that. Like, I think you're starting to see that when you make room, when you make time to allow yourself to have experiences outside of what you're working so hard to pursue, it can bring things into balance for you. And so I think the month of March is all about that. All about that. Being an observation of, being an allowance of, not having to push so much. I just think it's going to be a beautiful month. And I think it's going to be a very emotional month because I think what you receive in this process and what, more importantly, what can happen when you allow that to happen is going to really show you something. So be open to that this month, and I will see you guys next time.